Good morning and welcome to a very special edition of a BII podcast, which we have christened Words with Welly. I'd like to welcome our special guest, Chris Welham, or affectionately known as Welly to us all, to the sofa. Good morning, Welly.
Thank you, Molly. It's really great pleasure to be with you.
Lovely to see you. So today we're going to be talking about the LTC, the Licensed Trade Charity.
Yeah.
I feel like unless you live under a rock in our industry, you'll know who they are. But for those who don't, could you give us a quick summary of who the LTC are and what they do?
Happy to do so. The LTC has been around for 223 years. If you work in a pub, a bar, or a brewery, whichever discipline you work in, front of house, back of house, whatever, the charity's there to help you. If you fall into hard times, financially, emotionally, practically, with support, but also to help build up your resilience so that you can be prepared for those bumps in the road when they come along. And that's basically what we do.
Amazing. And you said you've been around for a long time. How long have you been around?
Yeah, so 1793 was when our founders started. 10 enterprising licensees in Fleet Street got together and said, we need to create a fund for people that are struggling in the trade, financially or with ill health, whether they're working or retired. And the following year, 1794, to help raise money, they set up the Publican's Morning Advertiser. So they actually established that paper, which is still going today, as known as the MA. And the proceeds from that helped to pay small number of pensions very early on, and then it just grew and grew and grew. So it's been a great success story.
So an early forerunner of the welfare state and almost the NHS as well, paying for people in the licensed trade to be looked after.
Yeah, people were asked to chip in a guinea to sort of fund it.
A guinea fowl, a guinea pig,
guinea cash, and then there was loads of other things that they were doing. But then in 1803, so 10 years after the inception of the charity, those enterprising licensees said, you know what, if we struggle career-wise, actually our children are the ones that are going to be suffering. So they opened a school for orphans of publicans to be able to look after those kids. And so we've been running schools ever since, and we have 3 nowadays, and they also contribute funds. So since those early days, we've been doing all the lovely stuff and then educating children as well to support people who work in the sector.
Incredible. And so do you still have children of publicans attending the schools nowadays?
We do. Yes, we do. So we have 2 schools. So 3 schools. We've got Ascot is our independent mainstream private school. And we subsidise the fees for about 10% of the kids that go there. So, 70, 80 kids and families from the trade get scholarships, bursaries and discounts.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about you, Chris. So you are the CEO of the LTC, have been for 18
months. Yeah.
And you've worked in the trade for a good number of years, so you've got a good wealth of experience behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be where you are now?
Yeah, sure. So, I love what I do now. It's just so great to be able to put something back into the industry, having worked in it for 30 years. So if I go all the way back, actually 1989 was when I pulled my first pint as a student.
What was it? Can you remember?
I think it was Theakston's Old Peculiar.
Okay.
And in those days, it was Boddington's as well, because I worked for a Whitbread pub, and it was the Ship at Lymington. And
oh, I love that pub.
It's brilliant, honestly. Because my parents had moved down there, you see. So when I came back from college or university, I used to go and work there, and it was just brilliant fun. And when I stood behind the bar, I used to be, having done glass collecting and then finally getting to pour pints. People used to come to the bar, and I'd be like, please don't ask for anything from the top shelf, because I don't know how that works. I could do the tap thing, but if it's like complicated, then but I loved it. And so I did that sort of as a part-time thing, which often you hear these days. And it wasn't until after I'd graduated and done a really dull job in marketing, working for a finance company.
Excuse me, marketing isn't dull.
No, the marketing bit was fine. It was the finance bit. It was an insurance company.
Yeah.
I found that dull.
I would find that dull as well.
Just personally. So I went back into hospitality. So in 1996, I started off as a trainee area manager. And I've been in the pub industry ever since. So working for quite a few of the pub companies, the well-known pub companies, breweries, etc. Worked my way through into different sort of roles. Became a CEO and MD, and COVID comes along. The world changes. The whole world stops. And I saw this role come up about 2 and a bit years ago, and I thought I absolutely will knock a wall down to get this job, because one, I love it. It's hospitality. It's front facing. It's doing some really great things. But two, you wake up every day knowing that decisions and actions that you take will change someone's life.
It's a huge privilege, isn't it?
Cool. Yeah.
I feel very similar, and most of us at the BII feel very similar, that we get to do something that is meaningful and helping the trade, but it's also hugely fun at the same time. Not like insurance.
Well, it's beer, isn't it? And it's pubs, and it's just there's nothing like this industry in terms of people and sort of the camaraderie, the goodwill, the hospitality is awesome. I'm not denigrating other careers, but insurance wasn't for me. What's not to like about a beer and chips and pubs?
I mean, for me, that's a perfect weekend. Not for everybody, I guess. I mean, we work really closely with lots of people across the industry, and I know you are very familiar with CAM because you were on the board, on the advisory board as an ed, and their research into low and no has been fantastic. And when I first came in only 8 years ago, dry January was still a swear word. Of course you're having beer in a pub, of course you're drinking alcohol, whereas now 1 in 3 pub visits are nothing to do with alcohol. They are a coffee, or maybe somebody's having a couple of pints, but the rest are having alcohol-free beer or an alcohol-free spirit, which I don't quite get. I get the alcohol-free beer, but I'm not really down for paying the same price as for a G&T when there's no G in it. But each to their own. But it's amazing how pubs have continuously adapted and still are adapting and evolving to the changes that are going on. And you have been there to support them at the LTC. What are the things that you are seeing most need for support at the moment with your charity services? Yeah,
it's a range of issues, if I'm honest. A lot of them stem from financial, and the financial issues manifest themselves in different ways. So often you'll get mental well-being issues because of financial issues. A lot of relationship issues, unfortunately. It's quite a bit of housing stuff we're seeing coming through. I need support because I've lost my role, or I need to find somewhere to live. I need to find a job. What it is a symptom for me, though, is it's really tough out there at the moment. It is. I mean, the pub world is brilliant at adapting and innovating. And you look back at COVID and all the things that, as an industry, we did. And I was obviously still operating at that point, and we're turning ourselves into takeaways and doing all these lovely things for the community to survive. And then we come out the other side of that laden with debt, and we've got issues about lockdowns and all the rest of it. And there's still a hangover of that. But coming through now with the cost of living crisis we're seeing a lot of people coming to the helpline and saying, do you know what, I'm struggling. And my marriage is broken down, or I've had a bereavement, or whatever it is. Some of it's just ordinary things that happen to ordinary folk. And some of it's a direct consequence of, actually, I'm working in a business and my hours have been cut, or my business is closed, and it's tough.
It is tough,
and that's why we're here. So we can help. We can provide that support.
And I'm going to test you on some figures now. So I'm not sure if you've got them memorised.
I'm not sure. We didn't discuss this.
No, we didn't. But I had to throw some curveballs in. Just if we're talking about just financial support, how much financial support do you offer to people in need of that?
Okay. Well, last year, I'll give you a stat. We awarded about £2 million worth of grants and services. Now, the grants element of that, the physical cash of that, was about £500,000 just in physical cash. But the rest of it is support services and counselling and practical support and third parties that we pay for, that people can access to help with the issues that they're coming forward with us. So the whole value of that was about £2 million last year.
Incredible.
Now, the strategy we've got as a charity is to more than double that over the next 5 years. So what we want to be doing is awarding £4 to £5 million per annum for people in need in our sector, because we're about transforming lives and unleashing potential. And there's a lot that we can provide out there. The more people know about us, the more we can do.
I think that's what I really love about the LTC, though. It's not just about that kind of in the moment crisis support. It's about building the resilience up to deal with, like you say, the things that life throws at everybody. But when you've had some of those things that life throws at you, and then your business goes under, or your work hours are cut, or another unique problem for our industry is that lots of people, whether they own the business or whether they work in it, live in the pubs quite often. And so if you lose your job, you've lost your home as well, and you could very, very quickly find yourself completely destitute. If you're aiming to give away more money, I'm assuming that means you need to raise more money so that you can can get that churn going.
We do. So we have a very simple strategy. We want to raise more money, we want to reach more people and help more people. And we're doing that through a number of ways, through fundraising, through donations, through growing our schools footprint, through our foundational assets that accumulate funds every year. Basically, what we want to do is try and get to as many people as we can in the sector, because stuff is going on. You know, we see the smiles behind the bar as we walk into a pub, but we never see really what's going on really in people's lives, and that's the bit that we get to hear when they come to the helpline. So the more of that we can do, the better. Here's an interesting stat for you as well. So if you were to give us £100 today, I can guarantee you that £100, 100% of that £100 will go to a beneficiary. And the reason that is the case is because the firm financial platform that the charity has means all our overheads are covered. So we literally have the ability to be able to provide this service, and every penny that you donate will go to a beneficiary.
Amazing. And that's because of the footing you've got from the schools and the history.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of the fact that we're 45 years old next year, which is nowhere
That's amazing.
Nowhere near as old as...
Well, do you know, and actually I as you know, I've done my stint with the BII as well. So I was an industry advisor going back with Anthony's days and Mike's days, and then when Steve came in, I did a stint on the awarding body board as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the BII is one of those institutions. It's a foundation of the sector. If you're a single operator in particular, where do you go for your support? You know, often there are things that you need that you can't get hold of. Let's say if you're a free trader, for example.
Yeah.
And you might have finance with a bank or a brewery, but you don't have anyone to give you advice about stuff. And if you fall into hard times, what happens?
Absolutely.
You need people like your institution and what the BII provides, which is that real, it's almost like fourth emergency service stuff in some respects, but then on the other hand, it's a way of building up that resilience so that you can cope with those harder times when they do come.
And that's why we've always worked really closely together as organisations, and I think you being on our advisory board and then moving into the position you're in at the LTC means that we're working even more closely together.
Yes.
Because we feel like we've got lots and lots of areas covered. So you have got the sort of financial, emotional, personal support covered, and we've got the business support covered from our perspective. And I get frustrated, as I'm sure you do, because we sort of exist in this little echo chamber of we know what we do, we know how great it is, and if we had half an hour to sit down, you and me would go to a pub and we would tell them all about both of our organisations.
Absolutely.
They'd join us immediately, they'd sign up to be a friend of the LTC immediately, they'd give all their staff all of the information about everything that we do, and they'd have access to so much more than they need. But quite often it's the free traders who are not aware of everything that a lot of other people in the industry are aware of. So I guess it's both of our challenges to get the message out there that we literally exist to support you guys and come and find out what we're all about. We're happy to come to the pub for half an hour, aren't we, Chris?
100%. If it involves beer, I'm always there. No, you're absolutely bang on right. I mean, you guys do all the sort of commercial stuff, and then we can do the personal stuff. It's a sort of symbiotic relationship. We can't exist without each other, really, or we shouldn't, because if you're, as you say, a single operator, then we can really come together to support what they need.
Yeah, and we also have so many fantastic examples of licensees. It's something that both of our organisations do as well. We kind of shout about the brilliant people in our trade because they really are utterly unique. I've never met any people or been in any business like the licensed trade before. And our annual competition Licensee of the Year award, which is my favourite part of my job, is alongside my brilliant team, half of whom are over there, is running that competition and then celebrating the winner at our summer event in June. And you have very kindly judged on that in over several years, actually.
Yes,
had a bit of a break and then came back again as a judge.
Absolutely.
So you've judged the last couple of years.
It's one of my favourite days of the year. Genuinely, I love it. It's tough for the people that are the finalists.
We've had tears before.
Oh, wow.
Not this year, thankfully.
We put them through the ringer.
In a nice way.
Absolutely.
I don't want to scare anybody off, but you have to know your stuff to be in the finals.
Yeah, 100%. And it's it's all the community stuff, it's all the business stuff, and it's all the personal stuff. So it's a proper process. But
and I can't think of an example of many other businesses outside of hospitality, potentially some kind of small independent retail, where you do so much for your community whilst supporting local employment and a local supply chain, and provide a service that is so desperately needed. I genuinely can't think of other examples of businesses that do that. And I also can't think of another example of businesses that are so heavily taxed.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
That's a lot of the problem that we're having at the moment, isn't it? And
well, I mean, I don't have to tell you because you're all over the stats, and you guys are doing a brilliant job, and Steve is doing a super job actually, fighting the corner for the independent operator. But if you think that nearly 40% of what goes over the bar goes to the exchequer, I mean, how are you supposed to make a profit?
Well, they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are some people who are doing brilliantly, and when you walk into a pub, especially, I mean, we're in London at the moment, so taking that as an example, if you walk into a pub on a Thursday night, which is the new Friday because everybody works at home on a Monday, you would think they're making an absolute killing, and they might be taking a lot of money over the bar, but it just goes straight back out again into staff wages, taxes, VAT. When that bill hits every quarter, it's phenomenal.
What I've noticed, though, over 18 months of being with the charity, when we have our charity service cases that we review every month with our trustees, there haven't been that many business owners that have come forward for support. We don't provide financial support for business debts, if you like. But I could probably count on one hand or two hands the number of actual licensees that have requested support. It's mainly people in the pubs or working within the managed environment or whatever it is, but it's people working in the pubs until recently. And now what we're starting to see is those business owners saying, look, I am really struggling. I'm going to have to come out. I don't have any money. Can you help me find somewhere to live? Now, we can do that for sure. But for me, that's a symptom of everything that we're seeing out there and everything you're describing.
I think that's the case, is that the sort of independent businesses are the ones that will plough everything in. They're working 70, 80 hours a week each as a couple sometimes.
Yes.
And a good example of that is Mark Wrigley from the Atlas Bar in Manchester, who's been all over the news lately, flying the flag for our sector brilliantly. But he's basically sacked himself. He's taken himself out of the payroll so that he doesn't have to get rid of one of his team members, because he cares really deeply about all of his team. And now he's working 60, 70 hours a week for nothing to try and keep his business going until there is a chink of light at the end of the tunnel. And this is a business that turns over in excess of £1 million a year. That used to, before he took it over, be at about £300,000 a year. So he has invested in that business. He's invested in local teams, university students. He's got so many team members who love him, and he's being forced to do that. Now, none of us would do that as paid employees of a business. I think we would be like, well, I'm sorry, if you're not paying me, I'm off to find another job. But that is why I think it's taken so long for that to come through. And it's proof positive, not that we need it, but for government, that you have wrung every last drop out of us. We need some breathing space now.
Oh, 100%. So CAM Insights, the team that I loved, I used to work with the team there. They did some research for us last year on this whole kind of space around well-being, financial, mental, physical, whatever it is. Their stats were 72% of people working in hospitality have had some kind of financial, emotional, or practical well-being issue in the last year. 42% of those were mental well-being issues. Now, that's massive. And what it manifests itself in at work is that you get sick days. And that's costing the industry something like £145 million with the work that CAM were estimating. But it's compounded even more by the fact that people that are struggling at work go to work when they're not well.
Yeah.
So they're not productive. And that's a massive cost to businesses. So there's all these sort of hidden things that are there that really, provide people like Mark with a massive issue.
Yeah.
Another plug, on our wellbeing platform, on our website, we have a wellbeing. We've got a wellbeing calculator. So if you're an owner operator, you can go on there and look at the number of days and the costs of sickness and presenteeism, that kind of being at work but not really productive.
Yeah.
So that's quite a useful tool, and it will work out the cost that potentially your business might be incurring.
So what's the solution to that, I guess, when we're all in difficult times and we're all definitely suffering physically more because of our mental health? What's the solution? What can we do?
Well, definitely. So LTC provides that upfront resilience piece as well as the I'm in a crisis moment. Yeah. So one of the things that people can do is go onto our website and become a friend of the Licensed Trade Charity, and you'll get, that creates an umbilical cord between you and LTC, and you get first up offers to do with various things that go on, discounts, etc. But more importantly, you get access to a wealth of information that
it's a brilliant platform.
It's amazing. I mean, there are 6,500 bits of content on there. It's incredible.
And you created every one of those, didn't you, Willie?
Sadly, no. No, we're very lucky, actually. We have amazing third-party partners, CIC, who do a brilliant job for us. And they host that platform. But it's superb. So one of the things that people can do, to answer your question, is to use that and type in whatever you want. Support me with building whatever it is, mental resilience or whatever, and you'll get loads of things come up for you to have a look at and digest and learn and read and all the rest of it.
And I suppose that's great for if you're an individual team member or if you're a business owner and you want to build your own resilience, but also you can kind of go on and point your team towards some help and support, hopefully before they need it, because let's be honest, nobody's taking on new staff at the moment. Nobody can afford to invest in that. But what you can do is look after your team as well as you can and make sure that they're resilient for the bumps in the road that are inevitable.
Absolutely. And there's a manager referral capability now as well, which means that if you're concerned about somebody, you can make a referral for that person for them to be contacted by the helpline as well.
Amazing.
Which is really good.
Brilliant. So could you tell me the favourite, or favourites maybe not, the most kind of worthy story of somebody who you've managed to help through the charity that sticks in your mind?
Well, there were a number, and they all seem to be a mixture of everything. So when we hear these cases every month, they tend to be financial, relationship, and illness and bereavement, and sometimes all of the above. But I do remember one case in particular where it was an awful case where there was a family, 2 young children, a couple living together. And unfortunately, he was an abusive partner to his girlfriend, mentally really suffering. The children were really impacted as well by that, ran up a lot of debt. And it just, when we heard the story, it was quite harrowing actually, because there's all sorts of other issues going on with this particular case. But when he actually he used to work nights, so he used to come home and he'd sleep during the day, and so he wouldn't entertain any noise in the house whatsoever. So you can only imagine the impact this has on the kids, because the minute they start to make any sound or whatever, then he's jumping on them and they're being abusive to the children. So you had all that going on. He left, and the day that he left, the kids and the partner ran around the house for about an hour just shouting because they could. But they were in massive debt because of what he'd done. Their home was at risk. The mental health was awful, and you can only imagine the impact that had on the two children as well.
Yeah.
So it's all, it's a horrible story. But the good news is we were able to step in for both financial support, so we can pay off non-priority debts. So we can pay off council tax, utility bills. We can pick up rent. We can pick up rent arrears, that sort of thing. And we can also fund improvements to the property. So we can fund goods and services and things that are needed around the house that haven't been done, which is good. And more importantly, we can provide the counselling that both the partner and the kids needed to get their lives back on track. So the genuine case of horrible, but being able to transform their situation,
And you have to wonder, without that lifeline, what would have happened to them.
Yeah.
But fantastic, you were able to help.
Yeah. Meeting that we had last month, we had 20 cases came through for the charity services meeting, and there were bereavements. There were people who had lost their homes. There was debt. There was abusive. The whole thing. And I think we awarded something to the tune of about 79K's worth of grants and services for those 20 cases.
Wow. Just
in that one meeting. But outside of that, in the work we did offline in the office, the total amount that month was about 130, 140 grand. That was, right, let's get on with this. We need to help these people. So I'm seeing more of it come through. I'm seeing the financial stuff, as I said before, manifests itself in other behaviour. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
But it's also, at the same time, rewarding to know that you can do something about it.
Yeah, but I think the message should be we shouldn't need to be stepping in to do that for people. Unfortunately, it's always going to be a need, isn't it? It's always going to be there. But if there was one thing that we could take away from this is that our trade really does need some more breathing room and support from government in terms of the taxes that they're forcing onto small businesses.
Absolutely.
But even outside of really stressful times overall for the trade, you are always there as a support and a guidance, as are we, helping people
100%
along the way.
Because that story, the final part was that partner, she had to go back to work the next day in a pub. So, we'll go into a pub perhaps afterwards. I'm hoping we're going to have a pint afterwards.
Is that your payment? And you need a pint.
Absolutely. But, we'll go into a bar and we'll be served by somebody. And that could be that person.
Yeah.
Who's having those issues. We'll never know about it.
No. And the great thing is about pubs is that quite often we find with our members, they are so many things to so many people. They are counsellors, they are support workers, even social workers. They'll notice when a regular hasn't come in and phone them up, or even go around and check on them. Where else would you get that? Not from an automated till, that's for sure.
Oh no, it's completely personal service, and it's just that's what the buzz of the trade is about, isn't it? It's that connection, that experience, that ability to mix with friends and just enjoy some downtime. But the people that are providing that service are the ones that either need that commercial support that you can provide, that resilience, or they've got stuff going on in their lives that's just nothing to do with the business. It's just, there's another story of a guy who, a young son of his was really poorly in hospital, and he used to visit him pretty much every day before he went to do his shift at the pub. And there was one day where he got to a set of traffic lights and he'd been having really, really bad headaches for some time. And he thought, do you know what, I think this is the stress of looking after my boy. And he said, I either turn right to go to the pub to work, or I'm going to turn left and I'm going to go to A&E. And he did. And they found a brain tumour.
Wow.
And this is a genuine story. And again, we don't know who or where, but this is a genuine story. So he then had an operation, but then couldn't work. So he came to the charity and said, look, I need some support. Well, that's what we're there for, that sort of stuff. That's nothing to do with the business. That's just stuff that happens to you.
Yeah.
And you need people there to be able to pick you up when that happens.
Well, I suppose it's looking after the people who look after you normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for giving us a bit of an
Pleasure.
intro and a backstory for you and for the LTC.
My pleasure.
Always lovely to speak to you.
And you. Now let's have that beer.
Yeah.